Hey guys, big news in Diamond Dynasty. The big update that the developers said would come around the All-Star break is finally here, and there's been some controversy about it on Twitter, so I'm going to explain my thoughts on it, and also tell you some players that I consider to be pretty OP now. The first thing I want to say is, on the whole, I really like this update. They downgraded almost every player, with a few exceptions of players that basically played well enough or played ridiculously well and didn't deserve to get downgraded, because basically prior to this week, all they were doing was upgrading players. They really weren't downgrading players unless they were playing like really awful. So this week, basically, they took everyone down. They're like, alright, these ratings are getting out of hand, everyone's too good, let's make it more realistic now. And that's what they did, so I really like that. There are two players, and I'll get to this later, that I don't really understand the changes for, but overall I think it was very good. Now, I also want to point out, overalls mean nothing, alright? So, there are players that'll play much better in certain areas. Like, for example, there could be someone that's a really good hitter, that's a shortstop, but since shortstop emphasizes fielding, there'll be a lower rating if they don't have as good fielding. Whereas you have someone like Ozzie Smith, let me just find him here real quick. There we go. His hitting stats, or attributes, are absolutely terrible, but he's got good fielding and good speed. That's why he's a 90 overall. Those attributes are important for a shortstop. If you put him at first base, where the main focus is hitting, he goes down to a 68 overall. I did this before. So overall ratings mean nothing. They basically say how well a player will play in a certain position in real life, how valuable they'll be there in real life. They don't judge what you want in a player in the game. So please ignore overall ratings for this video. Alright, so let's get into this. Let's look at Mike Trout first. His contacts versus righties and power versus righties both went up. He's now a very good player against righties if you can hit righty on right. When I use righties, I have trouble hitting against righty pitchers. So my lineup is, for Diamond Dynasty, as I showed the other day, it's all lefties and switch hitters, and then Mike Trout, just because he's that good. But his contacts versus lefties actually went down, I believe. Overall, not much of a big change here, still a very good player. Ted Williams obviously didn't change, he's a legend. Miguel Cabrera, power numbers are down, contacts up, pretty fair, really. Yeah, there's not much really to say there. Kershaw, his clutch went down, but a lot of his other stuff went up. I'm not really going to talk about pitchers. I do kind of focus on overall rating because, you know, you don't really notice the specific attributes when you're in the game. You know what I'm saying? Except for, like, velocity and break, you don't really notice much in the game. Goldschmidt is now absolutely deadly against lefties. Probably the best first baseman in the game overall. 99 contact against lefties and 92 power. The only one who's better, first baseman that's better against lefties, would be Jeff Bagwell, but Goldschmidt is better against righties than Bagwell is. Alright, let's look at Bryce Harper. 88 contact and 93 power versus righties, and he actually has decent hitting against lefties now too, which is big. My favorite platoon in the game is Bryce Harper in right field against righties, Giancarlo Stanton in right field against lefties, because they both kill those respective handed pitchers. Jose Fernandez. Now, he didn't really pitch much, so I'm kind of confused a little bit by the big upgrade, but I'll take it because he was already extremely good originally with his gold card. Now he's even better, I'd assume. Yeah, he's just really good because he's got the 97-mile-an-hour fastball and then like an 80-mile-an-hour changeup. He's pretty OP. Not as OP as Nolan Ryan, but he's almost there. Buster Posey kills lefties. Decent against righties. People say they have trouble hitting with him against righties. I agree. I use him and Yogi Berra in a platoon, but he's a very good catcher. I'm going to skip over Felix Hernandez because he didn't really change. Chris Sale, same thing, didn't really change. Scherzer went down a little, still pretty good. I prefer Sale and Fernandez over Scherzer. Greinke I don't really like at all, he didn't really change much. Kimbrel didn't change much. He's a very good pitcher. He's only downside is he really only has 2 pitches. He's got a fastball, a 2-seam fastball, and then he's got a knuckle curve. But he's pretty good because he throws like 98, 99. Andrew McCutchen, power went down. Big power downgrades there. I was never really a fan of McCutchen, so I don't really like him. But he still looks really deadly against lefties with that 99 contact. Troy Tulowitzki, I'm pretty sure his power against lefties went down, but his hitting against righties went up. I could be wrong. I have him on my bench. He plays shortstop against lefties, and I'm pretty sure he used to have 99 contact and 90 power against lefties, but I could be entirely wrong. That's just me going off my memory. 99 arm strength is nice. Josh Donaldson, you could argue that his stats against righties should go up, but if you look at the stats against lefties, he is arguably the best third baseman against lefties in the game. You got Mike Schmidt, of course, who I use, who has 99 power and like 88 contact. Giancarlo Stanton, minor downgrades, nothing major. His power against lefties is still the same. His power against righties is still really high. His contact versus lefties went down like 4, I think, and his contact for righties, I'm pretty sure, is the same. Nothing major there. Still very, very good against lefties. Adam Wainwright, no change there. Jose Altuve went back up to where he started. Oh no, he started at 91. What really changed here? I never really used Altuve, so I actually don't see where the change came in. Maybe power? No, I don't think so. I don't know. Someone let me know in the comments down below where the change came for Altuve. Yeah, I can't figure it out. So someone tell me, please. Anthony Rizzo. They basically kind of evened out all his hitting stats. The thing I don't like about him and why I wouldn't recommend him, using him, 72 contact versus righties, 85 power versus righties. The 85 power is nice, 72 contact not so nice. You could use Fred McGriff instead, who has 80 contact and 94 power, or Will Clark, who has 90 contact and 83 power. Both would be better options, in my opinion, than Anthony Rizzo. Kenley Jansen went up 1. I don't really know much about closers. I mean, I could look up the stats right now, but I mean, that's not a big change anyway. It doesn't really matter. Leave that there. Manny Machado, I think this is more fair. You could argue that the power versus lefties downgrade wasn't really warranted, but overall, I think it's a pretty fair assessment of his skills. David Price went down 1. Nothing really major there. He didn't really get downgraded. It's just kind of, they're downgrading everyone else, so when you compare him to everyone else, he's too high, so they had to take him down too. That's what pretty much happened. I don't understand this at all. Jake McGee is now a 91 overall. Let's check something real quick here. I want to see what happens if you turn him into a closer instead of a relief pitcher. 94 overall. Jake McGee becomes the best closer, tied with Kimbrel, best relief pitcher in the game. I mean, aside from Eckersley, I'm talking like current pitchers. Becomes the best, Jake McGee, if you make him a closer. How does that make any sense? I look at his stats, they're not that good. I mean, he's got like a 1.99 ERA, I think it was. I don't remember. It wasn't anything special. It was similar to Betances. So why did they make him up to a 91 overall, which, if you just change his position at all the other good relief pitchers' positions, make him the best one in the game? Makes absolutely no sense to me. That's one of the upgrades that I have a problem with. It's just stupid. It doesn't make any sense. Alright, moving on, we got Matt Harvey. 91 overall, just fair. He's hot and cold. He's been good, and then he's been bad. And, that's a fair rating. Carlos Gomez actually went up 1 overall, but like I said, we're not focusing here on overalls. I'm not sure where the upgrade really came, but if you look at his hitting stats, those look pretty fair to me based on how he's performing this season. They're really nothing special. And apart from the speed, like, unless you're someone that really just likes cheese bunting and stealing second and then stealing third with every single batter, I wouldn't really use him. His hitting is nothing special. Corey Kluber down 2. Again, same thing with Price. No real big change. No big changes, you know. They just brought everyone down, so kind of had to bring him down too. Robinson Cano is getting some of that contact versus righties back. He is one of the best, actually, if not the best second baseman in the game now. You can argue Carew is better. Carew has 9 higher contact, but like 30 lower power. So I would say Cano is probably the best second baseman in the game. Johnny Cueto, same thing as Price, and Kluber, you know, nothing major happening there. Fair assessment of his stats, in my opinion. Yu Darvish not changing. He's on the DL. They don't modify those players. Joey Votto getting some hitting stats back. 91 contact and 76 power versus righties. Very good player. Very good option for first base. I mentioned McGriff and Will Clark being good options. Joey Votto's a good option too. I would pick all 3 of them over Anthony Rizzo, even though Anthony Rizzo has a higher overall. Chris Archer, 90, again, nothing major happening. Sean Doolittle, 90, nothing major happening. Koji Uehara. Alright, sorry, I don't know what that sound was. This one also makes no sense to me. Koji Uehara isn't an elite closer. Alright, first off, he plays for the Red Sox. The Red Sox don't win. When does he even have any save opportunities? Okay? I mean, I looked at his stats, and they're really nothing special. You know, they're kind of average for a closer. If you compare him to Andrew Miller, Dylan Betances, Kenley Jansen, Aroldis Chapman, he's pretty much just kind of similar. Like, or maybe even a little below. Like, he's not anything that warrants a big upgrade. And I just don't understand this. It's not as bad as the Jake McGee change, making him what would be if he was a closer in 94 overall. But, I mean, it's a little ridiculous. Madison Bumgarner, nothing major there. They basically downgraded all the gold pitchers a little bit just to basically not only make room for upgrades, but make it less ridiculous, basically. Nelson Cruz, his contact versus righties could go up a little bit, but I mean, his contact versus lefties is a 99. He's actually ridiculous. I didn't even know. His contact versus lefties is a 99. Power versus lefties is an 88. So he would be a good platoon guy too. If you didn't want to use Giancarlo Stanton, you couldn't afford him. You could do Bryce Harper and Nelson Cruz in right field. That would be another good option. Jose Abreu, no big change. A-Rod, this one is absolutely earned. A-Rod's having a fantastic year. 89 overall is perfect in my opinion for him. That 93 power is good against lefties. That's pretty much dead accurate. Very good player now against lefties. Even when he was a 76 overall bronze, I could always hit well with him for some reason. So I'm excited to try this out. Not in Diamond Dynasty, but maybe in like head-to-head. Is that what it's called? Exhibition. What's it called? I don't know. Online play, where you pick a team and play as that team. I'll play as the Yankees, and I'll be excited to use him. Garrett Cole, -1, nothing big. Pedroia, pretty accurate there. 79 contact, and then the power in the high 40s. Yeah, fielding's pretty good. Yeah, everything, I would have no complaints with that. Sonny Gray, again, -1. All the pitchers went down, nothing big. Wade Davis stays the same. I don't know how Wade Davis is lower than Jake McGee. Wade Davis is having a better year than Jake McGee. At least last time I checked, he had like a .47 ERA or something. I mean, it might be higher now. I don't know. But, yeah. Adrian Gonzalez, fair. Again, I would even take Adrian Gonzalez over Anthony Rizzo. Not by a wide margin, but just by a little bit, you know. 81 contact, 82 power versus righties. Whereas Anthony Rizzo has, 70-something contact, and then 85 power, or 60-something contact and 85 power. So I would Adrian Gonzalez is more well-rounded than Rizzo. And the reason why I'm just looking at righties mainly for this is because that's what you're going to face. 80% of pitchers, that's just a random stat, but I'm pretty sure it's close. Approximately 80% of pitchers are righties. So you're going to face a lot more righties than you are lefties. Jacob deGrom, 89, yeah, he's having a fantastic season, that's fine. Betances, 89, that's fine, but when you compare it to Koji Uehara and Jake McGee, you're like, alright, maybe he should be a little higher, but now it's fine. Jake McGee and Koji Uehara are just the ones that are too high. Adam Jones looks fine to me. Jose Reyes, did they take down? I'm pretty sure his contact went down a little. He was always one of my favorite players to hit with, so I don't know how that's going to affect it, but he still looks pretty good. I like that he's a switch hitter. Makes him like, you don't need to use in my case, if you can't hit one with one, you know what I'm saying? Like, you can't hit righties with righties, can't hit lefties with lefties. Switch hitters just make it easy. You just need to buy one player. You don't need to find someone on your bench to replace them. So he's always a good option in my opinion. Tanaka went down too. That's, as a Yankee fan, I can say that's warranted. He hasn't had a spectacular season. I mean, he's been decent, but nothing spectacular. Aroldis Chapman, I mean, the downgrade, it's nothing major, but he's definitely better than Koji Uehara and Jake McGee. I'm always going to use those two as my examples, but I don't really have that much of a problem with it. Dallas Keuchel, again, all the starters went down. Arrieto's one that actually went up, but if you look at his stats, it's earned, it's deserved. Todd Frazier went down, but his stats are still accurate, his attributes, I mean. His power versus lefties is insane, and it is insane in the game, too. Everything there is fair. John Lester, I think, is a little bit high. I think if you look at Jake Arrieta and Sonny Gray's an 89. But if you look at the other 88 overall pitchers, I think they're a little better than John Lester. Cole Hamels, I think, is a little high, too. He hasn't had the greatest year. Same thing with Strasburg. The three of them have all struggled, so I think maybe 87 or 86 might be a little more fair, but I mean, not really a big problem there. Adrian Beltre also been struggling, but I think those attributes are pretty good. Yasiel Puig, now a pretty average player. Apart from the 95 arm strength, none of those attributes really stand out to me. So he's not a player I'd really go for in Diamond Dynasty. Greg Holland, -3. I don't know his stats. I don't know if it's earned or not, but it's just what it is. David Wright, no change. Still one of the most OP players in the game against lefties. 99 contact, 68 power, and pretty good fielding. So he's someone that I would recommend in a platoon if you can't afford Donaldson or Schmidt. Very good player. No change for Ryu. D. Gordon, contact versus righties went down. I'm pretty sure that was the only change, but I could be wrong. Yeah, that's fine. That's fair. It makes him less OP now. I actually took him out of my team. I moved what's his face, Carew to second base and put Will Clark at first base. The speed is still there though, so he still could be a very deadly player. Carlos Correa now up to an 87. I like this. He's been playing very, very well, and I think these attributes are very, very fair. You could even argue that the power might need to be a little higher, but I think it's perfect the way it is. Nolan Arenado is very average now. I mean, like, everything across the board is just 70s. He's a good all-around player, but he doesn't really stand out in any particular column. Hunter Pence, no real change there. David Robertson, no real change there. Hanley Ramirez went down a little. Now he's also pretty average. His fielding is atrocious, but other than that, he's pretty average, really. No other way to really describe him. Nothing really stands out. He used to have really good power. Now it's just kind of 70s, so nothing special anymore. Apart from the fact that he can play shortstop and third base. Jordan Zimmerman actually went up one. I think that's fair. Zobrist, 87 overall. Again, don't look at the overalls. He plays 5 different positions, and his overall probably ranges from 81 to 90 based on which position he's playing. Just look at the attributes. Very good player against lefties, very bad player against righties. There are common players I've used that have better hitting stats against righties than Zobrist. But against lefties, that 88 contact is nice, although the power is down to 39. Pretty good fielding. Only good thing about Zobrist, well, there's 2 really. He's a switch hitter, and he can play 5 positions. The overall doesn't make any sense to me when you look at his attributes, and he's not someone that really stands out to me. But for like a online franchise type thing, he would be good because he can play so many positions and because he's a switch hitter. Jose Iglesias up to A7, one of the more overpowered players now, again, against lefties. You'll notice there are a lot of shortstops now that are OP against lefties. It's strange. But you got 97 contact against lefties. 40 power is nothing spectacular, but the 97 contact combined with the really good fielding, it makes him a pretty good shortstop. Mark Teixeira, another guy that needed an upgrade and got it. 96 power versus righties. I think the 75 power versus lefties could actually go a little higher too. And the contact could go a little higher. He's hitting, last I checked, like 260 something. Which, you know what? The contact's pretty fair. I mean, could go up to like 65, but I'm not going to complain. That's about right. The fielding is 87. I think the fielding is definitely fair. He's a very good fielding first baseman. So I'm happy with the way Teixeira is now. Brian McCann kind of surprised me. He's been having an above average year, but nothing really special. But the powers and the contact numbers are pretty accurate. And yeah, the fielding and arm strength too. So I think all around a good player to use as a catcher, considering their arm. Any good hitting catchers out there. Anthony Rendon, this guy went from an 86 to an 89 just because he moved from third base to second base. Now he's still at second base, down to an 86. He looks very good against lefties. Looks really, really bad against righties. Pretty average fielding and speed. Nothing special. Papelbon went up too. I don't know if that's deserved or not. It really doesn't matter to me. I don't care. Andrew Miller went down. I think that's deserved. Since coming back, he hasn't been as sharp as he was before getting hurt, so that's about right. Carlos Gonzalez, one of the most overpowered outfielders for his rating compared to his rating. You're like, oh, 86 overall, that's nothing special. Look at his contact and power versus righties. 86 and 89, that is outstanding. Even though he can't hit lefties, he's basically like a cheap Bryce Harper, in that he's very, very good against righties, not so good against lefties. Someone you would need to use in a platoon with a guy like Nelson Cruz or Giancarlo Stanton hitting against lefties. But against righties, very, very good player. Russell Martin, again, just average across the board. Matt Wieters, not someone you'd want to use against righties, but someone you would want to use against lefties. Even though he's a switch hitter, he's clearly better against one type of pitcher. Zach Britton went up a few. He's a pretty good player. I've used him in franchise. Evan Longoria, again, still good against lefties, not very good against righties. Good fielding. Trevor Rosenthal, I still recommend him. He throws like 99 miles an hour, so that's always a big plus. Michael Brantley, power is way down, but his contact's still pretty high up there, especially against righties. Still a solid player. Ryan Braun, fantastic against lefties, average against righties, and average fielding and speed. 93 contact, 89 power. Imagine, he's another player you might want to have in a platoon with Carlos Gonzalez. You got 85-89 on Carlos Gonzalez against righties, or 93-89 on Braun against lefties. 2 very, very OP players there that many people would overlook because of their overalls. Starling Marte, another player, I don't think he changed at all. Still OP against lefties with that 97 contact and 74 power. And, of course, the 89 speed. Very, very good player. Can't hit righties, though, as well. Jose Bautista, I heard Blue Jays fans saying he should be a diamond. They're out of their minds. He's hitting like 236. Contact should even be a little lower, in my opinion. But the power is pretty, standard overall. That's pretty accurate. Alcides Escobar, it's about right. He's nothing special. I mean, he's got good speed, good fielding, except the arm accuracy, and good contact, low power. That's pretty much who he is, so that's fair. JD Martinez, extremely high power, very good against righties, even though he is a righty. So if you can hit righty on righty, he'd be a good player to use. If you can't, not as good of a player to use. Really good hitter, not as good as fielding or running. Kinsler, very good against lefties, decent against righties. Shelby Miller went down a couple, still a pretty good pitcher. AJ Pollock, his attributes changed, even though his overall didn't. Look at that contact and against lefties. He used to be even more OP than he is now. He used to have 90 contact against lefties and 77 power against lefties. Now it's 92 contact, which went up a little, but the power went from 77 to 65. So he's not as OP as he used to be, but he's still a very good center field option against lefties, and he's okay against righties too. And you mix in the speed and fielding, he's a very well-rounded player. Prince Fielder, 96 contact against righties. I think his card now is very, very accurate. They nerfed his power a little bit, which is accurate. He's not hitting as many home runs now as he used to, but the contact is way up, which is deserved. Waka, 85, nothing to say really. Same with Kazmir. Kipnis, a lot of people were surprised. They thought he could go to Diamond, and they're like, why is he all the way down to 85? Well, his contact versus righties is 89, which is fair. He's hitting 315, 320, maybe. I don't know the exact numbers, but he's hitting well against righties. He can't hit as well against lefties, and he's not really hitting for power. So, I mean, these attributes are fair, you know? He's still a very good player. That 89 contact is very good. And he's got speed, too. He can steal bases. So don't let the overall fool you. He's still a very good player in this game. Valeriano, 85. Nothing really to say there. Cespedes, 85. I'm pretty sure most of the downgrade kind of thing happened when he moved to center field because he's not that fast. But he is a fantastic outfielder with that 98 arm strength. And he can hit righties pretty well if you can hit righty on righty. Albert Pujols, a lot of people probably mad about this one too. I don't necessarily agree with the power downgrades. I feel the power could still be in the high 80s, low 90s for both of them, but the contact is pretty fair. Overall, not bad. Lorenzo Cain, another OP player against lefties. You see a lot of these OP players against lefties. 95 contact, only 54 power, but when you combine the 95 contact and the 90 speed, very, very, very lethal player. Eric Hosmer. I would actually take Eric Hosmer, 85 overall, over Anthony Rizzo, 92 overall, because he's got 87 contact and 70 power against righties, and 92 fielding as well. So, you know, if you get that animation sometimes where the player can obviously field it, but it's kind of like they're locked in and they just kind of let it go past them. That won't happen with Hosmer with that 92 fielding. So he is one of my favorite. I haven't used him, but looking at the attributes, he'd probably be one of my favorite first basemen after the update. Brett Gardner, the contact versus righties is up there. 75 is not bad, and he's got the 86 speed too. Overall, just a well-rounded player. A little bit of power. Not that good against lefties, but you rarely face lefties, so pretty solid. Cliff Lee, no real changes there. Carlos Carrasco went up, deserved. And now we're down into silvers, so I'm only gonna analyze select players for the silvers. Elvis Andrus went up a little bit. Now he's still not anything special, but he's pretty good. He's got the speed, he's got the contact, no power, but overall just a well-rounded shortstop. Glenn Perkins went down from an 86 overall gold to an 84 overall silver. I don't know if that's warranted. I don't really know his stats, but what I do know is that he was ridiculously overpriced before, and now he's down to a silver, so he's not going to be as overpriced, so now I can get Harmon Killebrew for cheaper. He's one of the, I think I have 10 collections left to do, or 9 collections left, and Harmon Killebrew was one of them, so this helps me out. That's all I care about. Let's look at Yadi here. Still got the 98 fielding, 99 arm strength, which makes him very, very good against fast teams. Sorry about that, I just touched the mic. You probably heard some annoying sounds, but the contact's still up, power's down, average hitter really, but still a good player. Jason Hayward looks very good against righties. He's got very good fielding, arm strength, decent speed, good contact, decent power. Decent budget player. There are other players I'm going to show you later that I would prefer over him, but he's a pretty decent option. Andrelton Simmons. I love this because before, he was similar to Ozzie Smith before, because look at that fielding, right? It's really, really good, and he couldn't hit. His hitting was very bad. It was like 60s and 40s, and he was basically what Ozzie Smith is, only with a little more power, and he was an 87 overall gold. And people were like, oh yeah, he's good. No, he's not if you look at his hitting. Now his hitting is worse than a lot of bronze players now. And he's still an 84 overall because of that fielding. Really not someone I would recommend at all. Pat Neshek went up one. Hopefully he's still got the deadly circle change. Haven't played a game yet with this update, but I hope they didn't take that out. Jacoby Ellsbury went down now to a silver. He's still a very good player, though, if you look at that 80 contact. 46 power is actually deserved. He's not really hitting for power. But he's still got the 80 contact, the 90 speed, and the 86 stealing. So he's still a very good player to use. Chris Bryant, I don't think any changes happened here. And you know what? Everyone's saying, oh, he should be gold, he should be gold. I really don't see it. I think these attributes are perfectly fine for the way he's playing. Corey Dickerson, I was so grateful when I saw they didn't change him, because he is one of my favorite outfielders in the game. The entire Rockies outfield, really, Blackmon, Dickerson, and Cargo, all overpowered. Look at his contact versus righties, look at the power versus righties. He is absolutely amazing. He kills them. So, you know, even though he's an 83 overall, he is a much better hitter than a lot of the outfielders that are Golden Diamond. His contact versus righties and his power versus righties are both higher than McCutchen. McCutchen's a 94, he's an 83. You know, McCutchen's got a little higher speed and fielding, but really, like, is it really worth, you know, the extra 50-something K you're going to spend to get McCutchen when you can get this guy for like 500 stubs? Absolutely not. Dickerson is a very, very good player, and I highly recommend him with that 90 contact, 72 power, if you don't have enough stubs to get Ted Williams, Mike Trout, Bryce Harper, players like that. Very good player. Yasmani Grandal, the power is up against righties, not very good against lefties. It's kind of weird. He kind of has low contact, high power versus righties, and then high contact, low power against lefties. He's a switch hitter. He can hit both. One of the better catchers, in my opinion, behind probably Posey, Bench, Berra, and that's probably it. It's probably fourth, in my opinion, for catchers. No change for Brandon Crawford, really. A lot of people were surprised by that. I'm a little surprised by that, too. I think the power could go up and the contact could go up a little bit, but it's not the end of the world that those areas didn't increase. Jason Worth, very good player to use against lefties because he's got 85 contact, 61 power, and he's got a good arm, too, 89 arm strength. I saw someone earlier on Twitter complaining about Freddie Freeman and Braves fan, obviously. But look at his attributes and see if you can really complain. He's got 85 contact versus righties, 72 power versus righties. I mean, if righties are what you face most often, let's take into consideration that when the overalls are generated, they don't weight righties, stats versus righties higher. Even though they kind of should, because that's, you know, what you face more often, they don't. So that 85 contact versus righties, 72 power versus righties is indicative. Is that a word? Did I use that right? It makes sense. He was saying, you know, he bats 300 with 14 home runs. Why is he only an 83? I'm sure he is much better against righties than lefties. So it shows right here. His 85 contact, 72 power. That shows like what he's doing in real life. You know, just if he's not hitting lefties as well, and he's still hitting well against righties, you know, the attributes show that here, and the overall just takes into consideration all of those equally. It doesn't take into consideration that you face righties more often. So I still think he's a very good player, even though he's now a silver. Jock Peterson, no change here. I think he could have gone up a tiny bit in fielding, but I mean, really, how he is right now is very accurate. Brian Dozier, I think, you know what? I think those are pretty fair. I mean, all the Twins fans think he's like God or something, but he's really a pretty average player, and these stats kind of show it, or the attributes kind of show it. I think they're fair. And another gold that's now down to silver for Harmon Killebrew, yay! Ian Desmond went back up to an 82, but he's still pretty bad. I mean, the fielding's good, but if you look at the hitting, it's really nothing special at all. David Ortiz, still a very good player you can use against righties with that 79 contact, 92 power. For some reason, I couldn't hit with him. I think it might have just been his batting stance. I don't know. I used him for a while. I was hitting like 100. But his attributes are there, so if you want to give him a shot, go ahead. He looks pretty decent based on his attributes still. AJ Griffin is an OP player in this game. He got a 68-mile-an-hour curveball and like a 90-mile-an-hour fastball or something like that, so definitely would recommend him. I don't think he changed at all, but he's good. He's good. I mentioned him before, Charlie Blackmon. They made him a little less OP now. He used to have 80-something contact and then like 70-something power against righties, similar to Corey Dickerson, but not quite as good. Mixed with the only thing he has that Dickerson doesn't, though, is that speed too. But his contact is now up, I think, higher than it was against righties, but his power is down to 57. Overall, he's still a very good, very good budget player to use. Xander Bogaerts, another OP shortstop against lefties. I said there were a lot of them. 99 contact, only 41 power, but 99 contact's pretty impressive. Justin Upton, once a 90 overall, now all the way down to 81. Really nothing special anymore. Still pretty decent against lefties, but I mean, overall he's pretty bad. Another OP shortstop against lefties, Adani Hechavarria. Really hope I said that right. 92 contact against lefties, 40 power. Again, like I said, another OP shortstop to use against lefties. There are a lot of them now. Not a lot against righties, unfortunately, though. Johnny Peralta is an interesting one. Because look at his hitting, and you'll see why. Against righties, he has 84 contact, 64 power. Against lefties, he has 64 contact, 84 power. I'm sure they did that on purpose, just to like make it confusing. But interesting player, pretty good. I mean, interesting though. Melky Cabrera was one of my favorite players in this game when he's a silver. Now he's a silver again. He's got that 87 contact for his righties, 74 contact for his lefties. Not that high power, but if you look, I mean, he's a switch hitter. He can play, full time. You don't need to use him in a platoon. He's a very good budget outfielder. Francisco Cervelli, probably the best player to use in a platoon at catcher against lefties. I mean, apart from Buster Posey, of course, because he's just ridiculous. But Cervelli, 94 contact against lefties, 56 power against lefties. Very good catcher. And another OP shortstop against lefties, Freddie Galvis, switch hitter, but he can't hit righties. But 91 contact against lefties is just very good, fantastic player to use. Deonor Navarro might be a nice catcher to try out. His arm accuracy is really low, but he's got decent arm strength. 78-70 against lefties, 71-50 against righties. This is a switch hitter. Overall looks pretty solid to me. Nori Aoki, still OP, contact versus lefties. Contact versus righties pretty high too. Very solid player. Got decent speed. Everything is nice on him. And look at that. Another OP player that can play shortstop and is good against lefties. 97 contact, only 25 power, but 97 contact against lefties. Cesar Hernandez plays second, third, and short. Looks like a very good player to use against lefties. I mean, there's really only so many ways I can say it. Justin Turner, his contact versus righties is now up to 99, even though he is himself a righty. 64 power too. Plays third, second, and short. Very good budget player. DJ LeMahieu, no longer silver, but look at that contact. 85 versus righties, 81 versus lefties. I mean, he's still a very good player. Victor Martinez, now a bronze, can still play catcher though. And look at that contact versus lefties. He might be one of the Him, Sorelli, and Posey are probably the 3 best players to use against lefties in a platoon. 97 contact, 60 power, and he's a switch hitter with 70 contact, 54 against righties. You could even use him full time if you want and still be very good. And the last player for this video, sorry it was so long by the way, Tanner Roark. Used to be one of the best long relievers in the game, 80 overall when he was a reliever, 84 when he was a starter, now down to 74, so he is nowhere near as valuable as he used to be. The 82 stamina is always nice for a reliever, but if they're not just good overall, it's kind of useless. So thank you guys for watching the video, hope you enjoyed, sorry it was so long. If you have any more players that you found interesting things about, or you agree or disagree, or something like that, put them down in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you, whether you disagree with me, you agree with me, or you just found something that I didn't. I would love to hear it, and I'll give my opinion on it too. Thanks, guys. I'll see you later.